Hi everyone, this is Bucky Bean with a video on how to make my protein banana nut bread, photos of which I posted before on my blog, and I thought why not just make a how-to video as an experiment. The original recipe comes from DHFDNS, but I really couldn't get it to taste well. Sorry Derek. So I modified it here and there to the best of my abilities. It's complete. I can't get it any better without resorting to full-blown traditional banana nut bread ingredients. The recipe is on my blog, so please refer to that entry for further details. Alright, to get started, we're going to preheat the oven to 350, and we also need to take out our wet ingredients because they need to be brought down to room temperature. And then we're going to mix up all the dry ingredients separately from the wet ingredients first. I've already added 120 grams of all-purpose flour. Now I'm adding 90 grams of whey protein. Just keep the protein flavor something that's harmonious with banana, like vanilla. Also, don't use casein protein. Casein protein fucks up baked goods, and I've done that several times in pursuit of this recipe. Next, I'm adding 3 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, followed by half a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. If you are using something like self-rising flour, almond flour, coconut flour, I'm sure there's adjustments that need to be made, but I just don't know how much, so you're on your own with that experiment. After I get the baking soda, salt, and baking powder in, I'm going to whisk the ingredients. And the reason why I do this is because I want the ingredients to be evenly mixed throughout. You can also use a sieve or a sifter, but it's just a pain in the ass, and whisking is just way easier. So I highly recommend just whisking it. But whatever you do, don't skip this process because it's pretty important. As far as my nuts, I use mainly walnuts, but I have used almonds in the past and they work well too. Peanuts, on the other hand, they came out funky in the sense that they were like mushy and crunchy at the same time. So no peanuts. It seemed like they were absorbing oil too much. With the walnuts here, you see there's 30 grams of it, and I'm gonna take, which is a single serving, about 200 calories. I'm taking like a mug, and I'm gonna mash them to maximize the very little single serving walnuts I'm using. I'm not trying to pulverize them or anything. I would have loved to use 2 servings, but it's calorically dense and it would have tipped the balance of fat. You're going to mix the walnuts in, give it one final whisk, and that's it for the dry ingredients. Alright, we're off to the wet ingredients, and first up is my room temperature butter, which is now all squishy and easy to mix. I will be adding a half a cup of Truvia baking blend, which is my sugar substitute. The Splenda version works just as fine. You'd think the sugar would go in the dry ingredient bowl, at least I did, but psych, it actually goes into the wet ingredient. So I'm going to be splicing this with 2 ounces of fat-free Greek yogurt, which is a partial substitute for what would have been an additional 2 ounces of butter. And it's not that I'm anti-fat, it's just that I enjoy quantity as much as I do quality. So if it's low calories, then that means I can eat more. Yay! And now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, followed by a 1/4 cup of almond milk, or any milk for that matter, and then a 1/4 cup of egg whites. Today I happened to run out of egg whites, so I just used 1 jumbo egg. Now as far as the bananas go, they need to be about 9.5 to 11.5 ounces with skin, which is like roughly 2 medium-sized bananas in the US. If there's too much banana, it'll end up like a Wii U. And by that I mean a failure, and we don't want a failed banana nut bread. So the bananas need to be pureed, You can do this with a fork or a potato masher, or you can just be lazy like me and use a blender. The riper the banana, the better because of its natural sweetness. So if there's some brown on it, don't worry about it. Now you're going to mix the pureed banana, which is the last ingredient for the wet bowl. Just in case you didn't know, I love the Atelier series video games, you know, hence the music. Totori-chan, pero. I didn't say that. After we mix the wet and dry together, there's very little time. So before you mix them together, you want to prepare your loaf pan first. Here I have a 9-inch by 5-inch loaf pan, and I'm using non-stick cooking oil spray, and I'm spraying the sides and the bottom. Alright, here we're adding the wet and dry together. Your focus here should be to just get the dry ingredients wet. You're not like mixing them hard. So you can't do this with a blender or a hand mixer. You're just folding the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Just swirl them around. Once you're sure that all the dry ingredients is wet, just pour it into your loaf pan, and it should come up to about halfway or even like 3/4 of the loaf pan. And after that, you're just gonna put them in the oven for 35 minutes to start with. Baking time will vary based on how much banana you used. So after 35 minutes, you're gonna check to see if the bread is done by using a toothpick, and you're gonna poke it down the center, and then you're gonna take it out and look at the toothpick and ensure that there are no batter on it. If there is still batter on it, you're gonna close the oven door and let it bake for 2 minutes, and you're gonna rinse and repeat the process until there's nothing on the toothpick, and that means it's done. After that, before cutting the banana bread, you're gonna take it out and let it sit for about 30 minutes. What I do is I cut it into 8. Each slice is about 250 calories, 12 grams of protein, and a decent amount of fat and carb, which ain't too shabby. So I hope you guys enjoyed this and have a very successful banana nut bread experiment yourselves. If there are any questions, comments, please post them on the blog. Thanks for watching, guys. Mata ne!